Let us start with the preliminary homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us now pay respect to the Triple Gem. Arahang sama sambuddho bhagava buddhang bhagavantang abhivademi. Swakato bhagavata dhammo dhammang namasami. Supatipano bhagavato sawaka sangho sanghang namami. Let us now go for the refuge to the Triple Gem. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. We will now chant the observance of the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu micacara veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majapamadatana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Let us recollect the sublime qualities of the Buddha. Iti piso bhagava arahang sama sambuddho vijacarana sampano sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati satta dewa manusanang buddho bhagavati. Let us recollect the sublime qualities of Dhamma. Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko akaliko ehipasiko openaiko pacatang veditabo vinyuhiti. us now recollect the sublime qualities of Sangha. Supatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Ujjupatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Nyayapatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Samicipatipano bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Yadidang cattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Ahuneyo pahuneyo dakineyo anjali karaniyo anuttara punyaketang lokasati. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Welcome to Buddhist Fellowship's Sunday service. Today, we are very fortunate to have Ayya Upekkha, all the way from Australia, who will be giving us a talk titled, Let Go. Let go of what? Ayya Upekkha came to learn about the Dhamma via the Mahayana and Theravada traditions from 1986. She was ordained in Taiwan firstly as a summonary in the Mahayana tradition in 2003 and received higher ordination as a bhikkhuni in 2005. She practiced and served in this tradition in Singapore and Perth, Australia until March 2008. As Ayya was inclined towards strict Vinaya practices and meditation, she switched over to the Theravada tradition in 2009 after being accepted into the Sangha by Ajahn Sujato, the then abbot of Santi Forest Monastery in New South Wales. On learning about the plight of the Theravada bhikkhunis, she accepted the invitation from Buddhist Society of Victoria and Bhante Jack to help in their vision towards building a fourfold forest monastery in Melbourne. Ayya is now the senior bhikkhuni of Newbury Buddhist Monastery there. Ayya would first be giving a 10-minute guided meditation, followed by a Dhamma talk, and then Q&A. Let's welcome Ayya.
Good morning to all Singaporeans. Greetings with blessings of the Holy Triple Gem from Newbury Buddhist Monastery, Melbourne. All right. So for today, I've been requested to just give a talk on the topic that I have chosen, and I've actually chosen the theme: letting go, letting go, letting go of what. Okay, so because this is usually the questions that is being asked of us. So before I go into the meditation for about 10 minutes, let us all start with the Namo Tassa 3 times together. All right. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. Okay, so let's quieten our body and mind for about 10 minutes. I'm actually going to use the mobile to set the alarm after 10 minutes. And this is actually a good opportunity for us to really look into our mind. What do we need to let go of? Okay, right. So from now, we'll start to do a meditation. I think perhaps just a few notes to take care of, meaning probably you all know how to sit already, taking the proper posture, and also to be able to maintain a good seat where you have your back straight, all right? And then your shoulders not slumped down, your chin not put forward, nor your head put backwards. So usually what our teacher used to tell us is that the nose, the mouth, and the navel is like in a straight line. Okay, now the back can be straight, but the shoulders shouldn't be very rigid. So you have to really be very relaxed, and also to be able to feel that you are not very stiff, right? So enjoy the sit for this 10 minutes. I assume that most of you are experienced meditators, even for those who are new. Just try to relax this 10 minutes before we go into the Dhamma talk. And as I said just now, take this opportunity to be aware of what is happening when we are just sitting for these 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to set the alarm clock, and after 10 minutes, you hear the ring. Okay, usually I like to be very quiet when we are sitting, unless I'm teaching beginners meditation. So for 10 minutes sit, it's better that we sit quietly and observe what is happening within the mind. All right, so whatever you can let go of, just let go. Right, we'll begin now. There you go. 10 minutes. What was happening to our minds? Empty? Nothing there? Or some inner chatters. Yeah. So a lot of times when our teachers tell us to let go of our inner chatters, let go of our speculation into the future, let go of our recollection of the past, let go of fantasizing, all these things when you are meditating, let go, let go, let go. So of course, let go towards very easier said than done. So of course, we do have students asking us, Ayya Upekkha, how do we let go? So for me personally, I don't think that we can only just let go the moment we learn how to sit in meditation. All this letting go of so many things actually has to be done on our daily basis as a what we call an exercise to really prepare the path for us to go into better meditation. So letting go, there are many things to let go of. When we are doing meditation, letting go is not only of the unwholesome things, but also wholesome things. It means not thinking of anything, which is really quite difficult, but it can be done, all right? Where we can reach a state of no thoughts, it can be done. And that state can only happen without being planned. It can't happen when you plan for it or desire it. It happens suddenly when we learn how to let go absolutely, right? So letting go, what do we need to let go of? All right. So of course, in meditation, we are told to let go of our thoughts and all those things, right? But why do we have so much thoughts? Why do we have so much inner chatters? Why are we always recollecting the past and speculating into the future? All these are very what you call habitual kind of patterns that we have actually built up over our many lifetimes, right? So there are many things that we need to learn to let go of, okay? But what I'm going to touch on today is probably touching on all those more negative what you call traits in each of us. I'm not pinpointing on anybody or anything, but it's just that all of us may have some of this kind of what I call habits, which may not be helpful in not only meditation, but also in our daily lives, in our daily interaction with others, all right, in our friendship with others too. So I'll just touch on certain common traits that are very noticeable in us ourselves, right, or amongst the people that we usually hang out with. So as I say, this is not a time to judge or anything. It's just a time to really look at ourselves to see whether we do have any of these kind of habits. I know I have lots of them, but hopefully I've been able to reduce them to a very low level. All right. So if we say that we do not have any faults or anything, if we say that we do not have any negativity in us, then I assume that we are all talking about holy people here. Okay. So in order to really prepare us to learn how to let go during meditation sits on the daily basis, we have to really be honest and courageous enough to really look at ourselves. What kind of habits do we have? Or sometimes even if we refuse to acknowledge that we do have those kind of what I call not very wholesome habits, we may be reminded by our friends or our kalena meters that we are actually, how to say, behaving in not a very wholesome way or without a wholesome speech. So all these are actually driven by the mind, of course. So as I say, I'll just touch on certain things. I have a few notes here, which I went through with another group recently in BSV. And I thought that it is something that I'd like to share with all of you today. And this is, as I say, at least based more on the negative behavior of ourselves, something that is maybe subtle, all right? But there are certain things that may still be quite, I would say, noticeable, quite gross. Okay, so I'll just start with things like something that most of us do, attachments and clinging to things, people, views. all right? Attachment and clinging to things, to people, and especially to our views, all right? So attachments, all of us do have attachments. I don't think many of us have no attachments. Many of us do have attachments, including us monastics, all right? Sometimes monastics, we may not have attachments to the very ordinary things, but we may have attachments like to rites and rituals or to our vinaya practices and all those things. We may have very strong attachments which may not become very practical for us to live the holy life. So attachments to things and peoples are very easy to notice, right? Something that you value very closely and something which you will feel pain to be separated from. So all these are attachments to things, right? So we come to a story where I think our Chinese teacher used to tell us this story where there's this general of the army. He used to go to battles and won many battles, right, for the king. But he has this love for what we call gudong, antiques. So he usually will just spend his free time cleaning his antiques, admiring his antiques and all those things. One day he was actually asking one of his servants to clean. You may have already heard this story, I think. He was asking one of his servants to clean one of the antiques, and unfortunately the servant dropped it. So he was so furious, he nearly wanted to kill this servant. But before he did that, he actually stepped back and reflected. I risked my life to go to the battleground to fight wars for my country, right? I'm ready to lose my life to fight wars for my country. Why do I feel so much when I just lose a piece of antique? Why do I have that attachment? So it doesn't make sense to him at all. How can the antique be compared to his life? So that attachments to antique, the attachments to things, I think many of us have it, right? So many of us do have all these attachments to antiques or something that we value, something. So anything that we are very attached with, we will always put a value to that. Even if it's not a price, it may be of sentimental values or something that we want to keep very closely and not lose them, not to be separated from them. So all these things are things that we can slowly let go of. So I'm quite sure you all know of Ajahn Brahm and his cave, right? His cave is so bare, right? His cave is so bare. I think many of you who have gone to Perth to visit his cave, I think Auntie Burr will always show all visitors Ajahn Brahm's cave. It's so bare, just his bed there and a little Buddha statue at the top of the opening where you can look outside. So bare, right? So are we able to live that kind of lifestyle or not? It takes time. It takes time. Even for us, new monastics who transit from the home life towards the monastic training life, we also need time to slowly detach ourselves from our possessions, right? So it's not only attachments and clinging to possessions, it's also to our family members, to our friends, and to our pets, many things, right? People, things, animals, and all that. So because they matter to us so much, so that attachment is there. So we often hear of how our devotees, they actually feel a lot of grief even when their pet animals passed away, right? So if it comes to our human friends and our relatives and close friends and all that, of course, all the more we'll feel the grief there. And let's not talk about the separation, just let's talk about the witnessing of someone who is suffering from a sickness. All of us feel so helpless to find that someone who is so close to us, someone whom we value the friendship strongly, right? Someone who has perhaps benefited us in some ways, right? When we actually have this kind of strong attachments to them, we tend to become very emotional when something happens to them. So all these things are the attachments. But it doesn't mean that we don't go about caring for people or things and all those things. So this is where often we get confused as to, if we don't get attached to things, we don't want to cling on to things, does it mean that we don't care about them, that we don't care about having them around and all those things? No, it does not mean those things, right? It's just that at the end of the day, only those of us with right view who can see the true nature of things as being impermanent and having no self, what they call substantiality, nothing that is something that is beyond our control, to have as we want it to be. Only with right view at that time, at that stage of life, then we can actually become not attached to all this clinging to friendships or relatives, things, anything, right? Animate or inanimate things. So this is one of the very difficult tasks for us to let go, especially our loved ones. Okay, a lot of times when we do meditation, okay, we do have like for me personally, sometimes you know, in from young until my age, I'm already almost 70 years old, right? There are certain phases of life that I go through, and there are certain experiences with certain people, right, which may be negative or positive. Sometimes we think that we have actually overcome all these experiences. We think that we have actually let go of all those experiences. We think that we have resolved all those what I call emotional drawbacks arising because of those experiences. But many times we find that when we are actually in a very quiet, contemplative kind of lifestyle, all those experiences, whether they are really negative or positive, they do surface every now and then, because especially when they touch our life so strongly during that certain period of time, they do surface, right? So it's not really easy to let go of all these experiences too. Okay, so this is talking about experiences with people, experiences with situations, experiences with grief, experiences with loss, and all those things. It does affect us very strongly, and it's really not easy to let go. Okay, this morning, we had this lady who has just lost her son. The son was 30 over years old, a lawyer. Yeah, so because of the nature of his work, he was not able to cope with how he was helping others. So he actually became very sick, and then he passed away. He was only 30 over years old. All right. So of course, this lady, volunteer of ours, she has been one of our committee members before. This morning, suddenly we found her crying. Yeah, so we were very surprised, because we thought that with the strong Dhamma in her, she more or less has accepted the passing away of her son. All right. So this morning when we found her crying, we were a little bit taken back. She was quite chirpy and happy doing gardening and all that when she was with us for these 2 over weeks. So when we saw her crying, we were asked, oh, okay, what's wrong? What's wrong? Is there anything happening? She said, no, I just remember today's date, and I just start to think of my son. Yeah, 2 months. It's still very raw in the heart for a mother to lose their son. It's very painful. It's very hard. She was at his side when he was slowly slipping away. Yeah. So of course, Ayya Santa here actually helped to do a very lovely photo of whatever she could give us, and then we did a memorial for her. We could only support her that way. But after 2 months, that pain is still so raw in her. So this is our attachments to our loved ones. It's not easy for us to just let go. Right. So this morning when she was meditating, I'm quite sure that in her mind, she was really just thinking about the son. And after the meditation, after breakfast, yeah, she started to break down in tears. Yeah. So all these things are very, very strong attachments that we have. We always think that we can get over them. We always think that I'm learning Dhamma, so I should be able to get over them. I must get over them. Otherwise, why do I call myself a Buddhist? Why am I learning Buddhism? But please don't suppress our feelings this way. I may be a Buddhist, but I'm still human. I'm still not trained to the level where we see things as they really are. We have strong attachments. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you cry or anything. We allow people to grieve. We allow people to cry. Okay, so the attachments to friends, relatives, family members, and all these things, they are so normal. I have another example. One of our trainees who wanted to become a nun, she had a very traumatic experience when she was actually running her own business. Okay, she was actually witnessing the killing of her pet dog by a group of people. She also witnessed the bullying of her partner right in front of her. She was so helpless, and they were actually taking over control of her residence because of her kind-heartedness. Right. So at that time, she told me that she had to go for psychiatric help just to get over all those things. Oh yeah, and the worst thing was that she found one of those perpetrators. Do you call that? Where he actually hung himself on a tree nearby to where she was staying. So that period of time was so traumatic for her, and she really couldn't bear with it. So at the end of the day, she really had to go for some psychiatric help. Okay, with medication and all that. It was a few years before she got over it. She thought she got over it, so she went to Japan and she went to various places to learn Buddhism. And with the help of psychiatrists and Dhamma, she thought that she overcame that kind of experiences. So she thought that, okay, she wants to be a nun. She came to stay with me, and before long, okay, because life in our, whether it's a temple or monasteries, once you finish your work and all that, it's very quiet. Before long, again, I found this lady crying uncontrollably. Yeah. So we all think that, wow, it's amazing. You went through so much in your life and you are able to get through it. It's so amazing. And when she speaks about it, you don't find emotions of rising in her or anything like that. But because she was in a very contemplative kind of lifestyle, we do meditation together and all those things. So somehow something just resurfaced and she had to live those emotions all over again. So she was again crying uncontrollably until she admitted that she needs some kind of professional help again. So you see, letting go, letting go, letting go. Yes, we know we have to let go of all those past experiences and all those things, whether they are good or no good. We know we need to. Especially, we always tell ourselves, I am a Buddhist, I've been learning Buddhism so many years, I must be able to be strong enough to overcome. But because we haven't really seen truth as it is, according to Lord Buddha's teaching, right? We do have the tendency to actually suppress those feelings right down deep into our consciousness. And when things are quiet, right, they surface. So it's really not easy to let go. So why am I picking on these points to emphasize as a what I call start? Because these are things that many of our even monastic practitioners and our lay practitioners, many of them do go through all these kind of experiences when they are doing meditation. Okay, so in meditation, letting go, yes, letting go. But if you find that in meditation, when you start to have all this kind of recurring recollection of the past, especially those that are very negative, and is already affecting you very badly, I really do encourage that you talk to your meditation teacher, or at least to seek some kind of help to really overcome it. All right, so yeah, it's always easy to say let go, let go, let go. Only when we really see Dhamma, only when we really see and realize the Buddha's teachings, then we learn how to really let go. Otherwise, the past is always coming to haunt us. Although we know very well that it's not what you call the way things should be. We all know that the past should be left behind, right? Ajahn Brahm always tell us about how we carry our present and past like two baggages. It's so relaxing and so relieved to have them put down, but it's really not easy. We have seen many cases where letting go, putting down is not easy, but does it mean that we continue to dwell in those emotions and recollections? No, we have to learn how to let go of it. Okay, so of course, again, these are very I would say profound kind of experiences that I don't think many of us, even as monastics, I don't think many of us are able to really give advices to. It takes someone who is really, how to say, trained professionally to guide a person with those kind of experiences into getting out of the situation. Again, we are hoping that it's not a suppression, but really a letting go. So these are difficult things to let go of, our past, about our past, very, very deep experiences that keep on affecting our life. Okay, so this is letting go, but how? Okay, so not only is it going to affect our life, our happiness, but it's also going to affect our interactions with others. Most importantly, it's definitely going to interrupt in our meditation practices also. All right, so this is one of the very important attachments of our past, of friendships, of family relationships, of close what I call experiences that touches deep into our hearts. Okay, so this is briefly the first point about learning how to let go of attachments. Many of us have attachments. For me, I always tell my fellow practitioners and others, I have not been tested yet. Okay, I think our Singaporean devotees know that I do have 2 children. Okay, now children are a mother's life. They say, wow, Ayya Upekkha, you are able to leave your children to become a nun. That's fantastic. Well, that's because they're still alive and they're still communicating with me. I've not been tested yet. I can only know how deep my Dhamma realization is if one day somebody were to come to tell me that, Ayya Upekkha, your son or daughter just passed away. How do I react? I have not been tested yet. Okay, theoretically, I would have to say, yes, they are only my son and daughter in this lifetime. Okay, they are 4 elements, I'm 4 elements. There are 5 skandhas, I'm 5 skandhas, right? All these things, theoretically, we know that, right? But how deep do I realize Dhamma to know that they are only connected through causes and conditions? It's not easy. So as I said, I've not been tested. All right. It's a bit scary sometimes to think that I will be tested one day. All right. It is always normal to have what you call the black hair go before the white hair. Right. So all these attachments, I know I'm able to just let my children be in Singapore. Even when I go to Singapore, I think our devotees come to see me more often than my children. Right. Even when we are communicating, I'm in Melbourne, more of my devotees are communicating with me more than my own children, right? So I don't feel the absence of them affecting me. But as I say, that's because in my heart, I know they are still alive. So all these are attachments, not very easy to let go of. All right. So when I saw this morning the lady who still feels so much pain and grief in her heart because her son, who was only 30 over years old, right? So young at the prime of his life with a good occupation, just passing away right in front of her. It must have been so painful for her, but because she was in the Dhamma for so long, she managed to pull herself together and then continue with her life until she came to stay with us after the lockdown. She came to stay with us. But again, this morning, I can see that it's not easy to let go, especially when it comes to our own children, our own family members, our loved ones. Okay, so this is one of those things that we have to face. Okay, now I'm trying to say that even if you feel pain and grief, don't think that you are a bad Buddhist or anything. Okay, we do have to have time to realize the Lord Buddha's teaching. Okay, so never have self-blame, even if you feel that you are not able to get over it quickly. All right, we just hope that you won't sink too deeply, that's all. With the Dhamma, hopefully you can remind yourself, we will always remind ourselves that everything will be separated from us. It is the first noble truth anyway. All those that we love or are pleasant will be separated from us one day. We have to accept it. But because of our clinging and attachment, it's very, very difficult. Okay, so this is one of the things that are really hard. Now, the other thing is, the second thing that I want to talk about is unwholesome habits. Unwholesome habits. Many of us have some kind of habits that appear to be very weird to others. Okay, now for us living here in the monastery, we have to live as a community. So we have people from different backgrounds, different countries, different culture coming together here. Okay, I think Sabrina has been here before. Yeah, so you know that we are all brought up with different kind of parenting skills and different kind of backgrounds, different culture, different medical language, and a lot of differences, but we're all staying together. So sometimes there's certain things that others do that really can't be understood by us. You just find that, why are you doing such a thing? It doesn't make sense to us at all, right? But because we tend to think that when you come to the monastery, this should be done, that should be done, that should be done. You should have the common sense. It's all common sense, they say. You should know that when you come to the monastery, you have to follow the rules of the monastery, all these things, right? But we do have very, very what I call unusual habits sometimes. Okay, like for instance, we have some people. I hope that the person is not here. Yeah. Anyway, as I say, it's not a fault finding. It's just that all of us have. Let me think of my own what I call funny behavior. What is my funny behavior? Something that irks people.
What you want to say about me?
No. So okay. Oh, I know. I can say one thing. You know, when I was a layperson, I don't need to work a lot, so I was very slow in whatever I do. Okay, but ever since I become a nun, you know, as a nun, we have to do so many things. We have to multitask. I think Eileen is laughing her heart out because she's very busy like us too. You know, as a layperson, we are so free. We have all the time to go for retreats and do our reading of our Buddha scriptures, everything is so free. And then when you become a nun, you thought, I'm going into the nunnery, I'm going to become so quiet, just meditating, you know. And then when you come in there, then you realize, oh no, that's exactly not what we are in it for. We have to work. We really have to work. So when I first went into the nunnery, that was in Singapore, right? The people say, why are you so slow? You're so slow in everything. But no matter how hard I try, I'm always slow. Okay. So somehow I still managed to survive the monastic training. I was sent to Taiwan and then I went back to Singapore to help my teacher. Then later on was posted to Perth. All right. So when I was posted to Perth to work with other nuns, there were so many things you have to do. So you learn to speed up. All right, so you learn to speed up. So you learn to multitask, you learn to speed up. So I became so fast that when I went back to Singapore again, they said, why are you so fast? You're driving like crazy, you're so fast. Can you please slow down? Right, conditioning. All right, so I didn't think that I was fast. I was only doing what I need to do. I was saying, am I really that fast? This is what I used to do in Perth. Nobody has complained, right? Okay. And then when I moved to Melbourne, more tasks, more duties, more things to do. All right. I wish every day has more than 48 hours for me. Okay. And then not only was I very fast in doing things, I was very fast in speaking. It's like a machine gun. Until the devotees, Ayya Upekkha, you're speaking so quickly. Can you please slow down? All these habits, okay, I wouldn't call them unwholesome. It's just a conditional, right? But it really irks people. You're speaking so fast. Can you please slow down? Okay, I'll slow down. I'll slow down for a minute or two, and then I'll pick up my speed again. So, you know, all these things are so irritable to people, right? And then, of course, we have another brother monk who always gives Dhamma speeches and talks, and almost every statement and almost every sentence he will end up with, you know. So one day we asked him, can you please listen to your Dhamma talk? He said, oh my goodness, it's so irritating. Everything ends with, you know. I hope I'm not like that. Yeah. So all these are habits that we don't actually see for ourselves, but other people notice it very quickly. Okay, there are many things in the monastery. I just don't want to go into it too much. I better go into my own habits that really irritates people. What else do I do? Okay, now for us living in a monastery, right? Living in a community, we need to do things in a very systemized way, in a very organized way, so that when we are working together, we know where things are kept, and We know where, when things should be done and all those things. Okay, but again, many of us actually come from families that are very small, and being in Australia, a lot of people do live by themselves. So when we are living by ourselves, we tend to just do anything, anytime, and put things anywhere, because we know where we can find them. But in a monastery like that, it's impossible. Okay, so like even up to now, NBM is already 7 years old, and how many months? September until now. Okay, we are 7 years old. September this year. 8 years old, September 2022. But up to today, we still find that almost every day we have to go and hunt for our knives, our spoons, our vegetable peelers, our chopping boards. Sometimes a lot of things, right? We'll be hunting for them. Why? Because people come in with a very helpful attitude, but instead of asking us where to keep those things, they just keep things according to where they think they should belong. So almost every day we go on the hunting game. Okay, sometimes you find it in the weirdest place, right? So sometimes it's, oh no, you're supposed to come in to help us, but you're giving us more work, right? So at the end of the day, we always tell people, okay, we know you're coming here, you want to practice with us, and you're very helpful, but please, 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 can you please ask us where things should be kept so that we don't have to go hunting every day? Yeah. So those are habits. Is it really that harmful? No, they're just trying to be helpful. But it does give us extra work when we have to start the hunting game every day, almost every day. So every time some new people come in, I think this is what we used to go through right now. We're very used to it right now. So we always got to tell ourselves now, think like them. If you come to a place, where would you put your things? At the most appropriate place, very convenient to you, where you were standing. So where was the person just now? Where do you think she or he may have kept the things? So we'll go and look into the drawers, take out all the boxes, and then you find all the weird things in there anyway. Yeah. Okay. So these are things that really sometimes do come up into our minds when we're meditating. You can be meditating and then you say, this Ayya Upekkha, I don't know what she's doing. How can she go and put that pot of oil in that place? There's a lot of mouths there. It doesn't make sense to us. So in our meditation, all these things do surface. So how to let go? Of course, these are easier things to let go of because it's just maybe a 1-off or 2-off. Yeah, until it gets repeated, then you really climb up the wall with frustrations. Yeah. So all these habits, we really have to look at ourselves also, okay? We have to look at ourselves. Now, when I come to a monastery or when I go to another place, even if I go to our family's place or somewhere, we don't just go and do things according to what we want to do. We have to have the courtesy to actually respect the host family or our friends or relatives and ask them, where do you want to put those things and all that. So these are also some kind of habits that we have formed. The attitude that we have more or less formed by thinking that it is all right for us to make a decision when we are actually visiting another place. Okay, so all these habits are so many, so numerous. It's just so plenty. I don't think I can have the time to describe any more of them. All of us do have funny, weird habits sometimes without knowing it. But how do we know that they are really not very welcome? So I think, as our teachers always tell us, either through self-realization, or when sometimes you find a lot of people looking at you with daggers in their eyes. Okay, and then sometimes you do have very good kalyanamitas who say, hey, Ayya Upekkha, can you please stop doing that thing? It really irritates us, okay? All right. So then if we are humble, then we will accept their feedback and they say, okay, I'll try to remember. Okay. So many of us do have all these kind of habits. Okay. So this is another thing, habits, right? So many kinds of habits. Okay, now, past and future experiences, not being able to live in the present moment, because we always like to cling to the past and speculate into the future. Okay, so for this, I think even the desire to be enlightened in this lifetime, the desire to want to go into jhanas, all these things are things that we have to let go of, especially in our meditation. especially in our training towards a holy life. Yeah, don't give ourselves deadlines that I must be enlightened in this lifetime. We have a goal, we work towards the goal, but don't give ourselves the deadline. I find that many of those who give themselves deadlines to become enlightened, or they must get into a jhanic experience or whatever, many of them actually finally may give up because you cannot meet your expectation. So these are things that I really encourage that we should let go of. We give ourselves time to practice, and then just work towards the goal without expecting too much to happen, because expectations and desires, they're all hindrances of meditation and also our practice also. Okay, now the other unwholesome behavior may be, I think most of us also have that, including me, being argumentative or making excuses or justifying, right? I don't think I'm free from those. I try to minimize. And then when I catch myself, when I become aware of myself doing those things, I'll tell myself, hey, Upekkha, stop it. Zip up your mouth. Okay. So a lot of times being argumentative, we just want to prove that we are right and the other person is wrong, or sometimes to prove that we are better than the other person, right? And sometimes even not just to prove anything, it's just for the sake of arguing. Okay, some people just want to make sure that I will be the person to have the last say. Okay, all right. So these are things that I think many of us probably may do sometimes. And then excuses. When somebody tells us that this is not proper, then we come up with lots of excuses. We come up with lots of justification. Yeah. So how many of us actually learn how to be very receptive to admonishments? Like for us nuns, okay, we always need to be ready for people to admonish us. And then we can improve in our holy life. That's the Buddha's teaching in our Venerus. Every Uposatha day, we have to go to the monks to ask for Obada and ask for teachings. Okay, and then amongst ourselves, we will be asked, we will be doing our confessions about transgression of our offenses and all those things, if we have any. So we have to be very honest, very courageous to know that, yes, I am still not there yet. But it doesn't mean that we have to really be very harsh with ourselves or anything. So the habit to give justification and all that is very, very common, very common. And if we keep on justifying for everything that we do, it's very hard for us to actually make progress in our holy life. Yes, sometimes we have to be, ready to acknowledge that, yes, the feedback that people are giving us, do say something about what I'm doing, or even if it's about my speech or my behavior, because everything is all driven by the mind. So it's all mind-made. So being justifying and making excuses, argumentative and all those things, are we able to let go of? Just imagine if we have the habit of always justifying for our actions, even though if they are unwholesome actions, right? So sometimes even in our meditation, we may just be like, fabricating our stories in our minds and having the inner chats and all those things. And then we'll tell ourselves, oh, it's okay, I'm just a beginner, I cannot expect too much of myself, I'll just sit here, I'll just continue to fabricate and enjoy my stories, I'm a beginner anyway, don't expect too much. Yeah, so all these excuses, yeah, it becomes habitual. Right. So as I say, when the teacher says, when you are sitting in meditation, let go, let go, let go, it's very hard for us to just let go at that time. We have to let go during our daily exercises, our daily life. Make it a point to let go of a lot of things. Okay, and of course, the other thing is about speech and behavior. Again, speech and behavior, there's too many ways of speech and behavioral problems that we do encounter, including ourselves. So this one, let's not go into it. But again, when feedback is there for us, let's be receptive. Okay, speech and behavior. Because a lot of times, sometimes because of wrong speech, we may really become regretful of what we have said. And then even for our behavior, if we become sorry for doing something that was not very pleasant. Then again, when we are sitting in meditation, yep, all these things will surface again. Like we'll be thinking, oh, I shouldn't have said this to that person. Now that person is not here anymore. What can I do? Then you start to feel so sorry that you did it. Okay, so all these things, we have to, all this behavior, we have to let go of all this behavior so that they don't become part of the hindrances for us. Okay, as I say, not only in our meditation, but our daily life also. Now, the other behavior is to be very opinionated or judgmental. Again, I think many of us fall into that category, judgmental. Our first impressions are always so important to us, correct or not? Sometimes a person comes in and you just don't like the face and you think that they are not a good person. For whatever reasons, no good reasons at all, so we start to judge. And then sometimes some people's behavior are very rough, and we may start to form opinions about this person. Yeah, but a lot of times you'll be very surprised that they are not what we think they are. Okay, so being judgmental and all that is something which is very strongly discouraged. So all these things has to do with our being very subjective in our attitude towards lots of things and people. So we have to really try to be objective in our daily analysis of people or things or situations, all those things, to be more realistic, to be more practical, and to be, I would say, more open-minded, instead of being so subjective that you really frame people into different kinds of boxes, and it's not going to help them, not going to help us at all. So having this judgmental behavior and being very opinionated, all these things, yeah, let's try to drop that kind of behavior too. Okay, so I still remember Ajahn Chah saying, I think it's outside on our door, I think, yeah, where he says that whatever we do it without expectation of rewards or praise and all that. So if we don't have expectations of anything, it's easier for us to live life peacefully and harmoniously. Yeah, so without, without offending too many people. Okay, now there's another behavior which we find actually quite common in a lot of places, and that is pretentious behavior, pretentious speech. I think this is something quite common in every place, I think, where certain people, they will just want to do something to impress other people, just to impress, to gain praise, to gain popularity and all that. Do we fall into those categories or not? We have to be very, very honest with ourselves. Yeah, we have to be very honest with ourselves. So of course, there are many examples. I mean, especially when we are always with a group or interacting with other people, we won't know who actually has all this kind of unwholesome behavior. Now, do I have it or not? That's the most important thing. Do I do things just to impress on others? Do I do things just to gain the praise of others? Do I do things just to impress others so that those who are not following me will not get the support and all that? It's actually quite an unhealthy kind of behavior, being pretentious. Okay, and then there are, of course, not only the behavior in the speech also. Okay, is our speech truthful enough or not? Right. See, we have seen a lot of cases actually in the monastery. We see lots of things. We see lots of things around us. Yeah, we also experience a lot of behavioral problems around us also, because a lot of people come through our doors, and people do come to stay with us. So we always try to be open-minded in such a way that are we being judgmental and opinionated, or is it really a truthful fact that this person does have this kind of behavior, which is actually we call unwholesome, and will cause disharmony in the community too. Okay, so being pretentious is really to be strongly discouraged. Pretentious, as the Lord Buddha has mentioned, the holy life whether it's the monastic or even the lay life, okay? Life is not lived for the benefit of gain or fame or praise or wanting to be getting more from others, more support from others. No, it is really just to release ourselves from the sufferings of samsara. We have to be totally free from all this what we call negative behavior of body, speech, and mind, so that we can be free from all the fetters in order to get onto the holy stream. So it's very important. Pretentious people, we sometimes, we have all these discussions with the monks here and all those things. We always feel that those people who are pretentious actually are very pitiful, because they always have to live to make other people happy. They cannot be themselves. It's very difficult. It's really dukkha for those who are pretending all the time. And sometimes when you're pretending, we have to remember how we pretended in front of this person and that person. It's very difficult, right? So we really think that this pretentious behavior or pretentious speech just to impress on others should be strongly encouraged to be abandoned, right? So all these things, again, it will lead to a lot of remorse, right? Or sometimes in our mind, we'll be thinking, okay, today I'm going to meet with this person. Now, how am I going to impress this person so that I can get some support from this person? How am I going to speak to this person so that this person can think highly of me? Instead of meditating, we may be planning all these things, right? So all this will come up in our meditation, okay? Now, of course, the other one is the fault-finding mind, okay? Always blaming others and grandizing oneself. Okay, now this is something which is also quite common, right? Fault-finding others. Ajahn Brahm likes to talk on this topic, the fault-finding mind. So do we have the fault-finding mind? Now again, this one will bring me to this question of, is feedback fault-finding? Is feeding back to a person fault-finding? So what is fault-finding? What is feedback? Right? So for me, I feel that how I would gauge myself is, if I am fault-finding a person, I really want that person to suffer. But if I'm feeding back to that person about certain behavioral patterns, then my intention is to help that person so that we can live peacefully and harmoniously together with happiness. So this is how I try to measure the difference between fault-finding and feeding back. Because I do experience people trying to tell us that, this person is a fault finder and they are not happy themselves and all that, because I think most fault finders are not happy people. I probably will agree with that too. But sometimes we feel that sometimes it's not true that they are fault finding. It's just that maybe they have experienced something which has been very unpleasant to them, and they're just trying to tell us that this kind of behavior is actually quite off-putting for me. Is it possible not to do the same thing repeatedly and all those things? So again, we have to be very open with all this kind of attitude, and also I mean, sometimes feedbacks can also be taken as complaints also. So we have to be very objective in a lot of things, so that we don't fall into all these traps of negativity, right? So all these things will definitely affect our energy. It will also affect our emotions. It will also affect our feelings, and also affect our perceptions. And then, of course, all the wrong sankharas will come about, and all the wrong views will come about also. So these are little things that we do find ourselves transgressing sometimes in our daily life, okay? All right, now the other important thing that I really like to emphasize on is people with self-hate. People with self-hate and those with very negative, low esteem of oneself is also very harmful, okay? Now, when we do teach metta meditation, many times we hear of people saying that it's so difficult to radiate loving kindness to oneself. They tell us that it's easy for them to send loving kindness to others, but they just can't send loving kindness to themselves. And of course, the Buddha's teaching is that you have to love yourself as well as love others. You cannot hate yourself and then love others. It can't work that way. You must know what love is before we can love others. Okay, so the problem of having self-hate and low esteem and all those things, there are many, I would say, causes for that to happen. Many causes. It may be past life, it may be this life, but what we can actually commonly see is parenting has some influence on a person having low self-esteem also and self-hate. We do have even adults, okay, with problems of not being able to take care of themselves, but they'll do everything for others, right? But when it comes to themselves, they just can't treat themselves well because they feel that they don't deserve it. Although they're lovely, lovely people, very caring, very, very friendly, right? So all these things are sad cases that we see in our daily life too. When we have low self-esteem, when we have no self-love, right? In our meditation, again, it is going to surface that I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And when you say that to yourself so many times, you tend to believe it, I'm not good enough. So how are you going to have peace and contentment in meditation? In meditation, we need to be very relaxed. We need to be contented. We need to be joyful so that we can go into a peaceful meditation. But when we start to have this kind of self-hate and self-doubt, it's going to really be a hindrance to meditation. And not only meditation, again, in our life interaction with other people too. So all these things are things that we really need to learn how to let go of. Again, it's not easy. Again, it's not easy. You can tell, we can keep on teaching others that you are good enough. You are really such a wonderful person. You are so caring. You know, you are so different from others. You really, really do sacrifice yourself so much for the sake of benefiting others. But they will never believe what we say. It's very sad to find all these things. So again, I think all these things are little letting goes that we have to slowly use Dhamma to help ourselves to really get onto the right track. Okay, now another one that is also very common is one with controlling, dominating attitude. Controlling, dominating attitude. All right. So of course, controlling people will not say they are controlling. It's just like a drunkard will not say they are drunk, right? So again, there's this difficulty of trying to distinguish between a controlling person and a person who needs to ensure that duties are being done. So a lot of times, the leading person in any group or any activity, sometimes if we are not careful, if we are not skillful, right, we can be labeled as a controlling person. We may have those kind of characteristics too, right? Very easy. I mean, there was once when one monk was actually telling us that you want to test whether a person is authoritative or not, just give them a position of authority and see how they behave towards others. The attitude will change. Because we treat authority as something that we can put others down, that we have to be listened to, that we need to be there to, give orders and all that. Yeah, of course, those trainers and professionals will tell us that this is not a good leader if you are always putting people down and not working with people and not being able to get along as a team and all that. But even for us who have that controlling kind of tendency, we may not know it. I think many of us may have a little bit of control, right? We always like to have people listen to us, right? So sometimes like in the kitchen, a lot of times, you know, as our teachers always tell us, even in the Chinese monasteries in Taiwan, our teachers always tell us that the kitchen is the best place to learn about oneself and also the best place to generate good karma or to generate bad karma, or to make more friends, or to make more enemies in the kitchen. All right. So our understanding of having a community living in a monastery or anywhere else, right, is if you go to a place where someone is in charge of something, okay, let's again refer back to the kitchen area, okay. If someone is in charge of the kitchen, in charge of the food and all that, so when they're in charge of cooking, those of us who are helping, common sense is that we will ask the person how they want to do things, how they want to cut things, how they want to, match things with what food and all that. This is normally what we would do, the person who is in charge of cooking. All right. But then if we are the controlling, dominating type, we will go there and say, hey, Upekkha, what you're doing is not right. You better mix this with that. It looks better. It tastes better also. Okay. And that one doesn't look nice with that. You must cut it this way. Why you cut that way? It's not nice. Okay. So a lot of all these things happen. So when such things happen, normally if we are the understanding type, all right, we do find a lot of such nice people around. When I come here to help, I'll just ask the person who's cooking, how do you want me to do things? How do you want me to cut things? All those things. So the person who is controlling actually do not know that they are controlling. They just want things to be done their way. A lot of times we don't even know that we are trying to be a controller, right? So Ajahn Brahm always talks about the controller in us also trying to control even when they're meditating and all that, right? So again, all these things are very strong in us, deeply ingrained. I don't know from since time began in us or whatever, but we do have all these little tendencies here and there because we are not perfect yet. Okay, we are not pure yet. But even, if you read the suttas, even arahants do have some kind of weird behavior too sometimes because it's habitual, not intentional. Okay, so all these habits and tendencies, all those things, they finally make what we are. And then if we are not mindful enough, it will just grow and grow and grow and form stronger and stronger in us until it becomes a hindrance to all our daily life as well as for meditation. Okay, what's the time now? Oh, it's already 2 o'clock. My goodness. Okay, so the other one is, of course, generally speaking, the Buddha did mention that what we need to let go of is greed, hatred, delusion, ego, and the wrong views and the view of ourselves. Okay, now before I drag on the sharing, I think I'll just go into this quickly. Now, the Buddha has actually mentioned in the Majjhima Nikaya in Sutta number 11, he was actually talking about 4 kinds of clingings that we should let go of in order that we release ourselves to go onto the path of enlightenment. So he was mentioning that clinging to sensual pleasures. Now, clinging to sensual pleasures is something that is so common also. Like for us monastics, we let go of a lot of things. We gave up a lot of things, right? But when it comes to food, we still do cling to taste and all that sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes we do find that, whoa, we miss this for this kind of food because we haven't had it for so long. So when somebody actually brings something that we have missed, or can see our eyes sparkling and all that, all right? So all this kind of clinging for sensual pleasures and all that, this is something that the Buddha says we have to let go of. And clinging to views, we all have so many different views. That's why we go into arguments and go into conflicts, we go into wars and all those things. It's mainly because of different views. So all these different views and all those things, are we able to let go of our views, especially if they're wrong views? Okay, so all this clinging of views is something that we really need to take a good look at ourselves to see whether we always hold on to our views, or are we able to just come to a compromise, or just let go of situations without getting into a fight or into a conflict. Yeah, so clinging to sensual pleasures, clinging to views, and of course clinging to rules and observations, what you call rites and rituals. All right, rites and rituals, all this clinging. Okay, so for us here in Newberry Buddhist Monastery, we are trying our very best to discourage practice of rites and rituals. Okay, now things that is not very, I would say, helpful towards liberating the mind to be free from all this clinging. Things that will sort of encourage more clinging to rites and all that, like certain things that other monasteries may be doing, which we are not doing here. We try to explain to our devotees why we are not doing that. Okay, especially when it's not taught by the Buddha. A lot of things that monasteries are doing or monks and nuns are doing, sometimes it's not really taught in the suttas, not found in the suttas. They're actually there as what we call skillful means to help others to come into the door of Dhamma. But then once they come into the door of Dhamma, we really need to elevate them to a higher level of practice instead of stagnating in rites and rituals. And as all of you should, I think, already know, I think probably you all know that one of those 3 fetters that we have to get through to abandon is to become a Sotapanna, at least is to be free from rites and rituals. Okay. Now the other thing is the doctrine of a self. Now that is also another thing another one of the 3 fetters for one to become a Sotapanna. The third one is, of course, the doubts about the Buddha, Dhamma, and his disciples, and doubts about ourselves being able to practice, doubts about ourselves being able to meditate, all these things, right? So clinging, these 4 kinds of clinging, okay, the Buddha says are all wrong and unwholesome, and are obstacles in our holy life. So, of course, when a person does not cling to all these 4, okay, I mean, even if it's not complete non-clinging, it will actually liberate us to a certain extent. Yeah. So the final emphasis is that for us to be able to let go, we really need to have right view. We really need to have right view. And right view is actually part of the wisdom, what I call division of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right view. It's right in front there. So of course, there are certain monastics who explain right view as the mundane right view, and also the supramundane right view. But right view, actually, according to some teachers, it is actually the wisdom of a person who can see things as they are according to the truth that Lord Buddha has taught. So how to let go? Let go of what? So let go of all the bad first, right? And then when we are meditating, we also need to let go of the good also. We cannot be just keep on recollecting all the goodness that we have done and fabricating all those joy and all those things in there. Oh, I wish I had done more or something like that. Just recollecting even good things, they can become obstructions to our meditation too. So I just briefly mentioned here a saying of Ajahn Brahm. He did explain the right view in a very simple manner. Okay, so I just read from this. I think you probably may have read it too. It's actually from the book Opening Up to Kindfulness by Ajahn Brahm. So what does he mean by right view, Ajahn Brahm? Okay, only with right view, then we can really let go of things, all right? Otherwise, it's very hard. We'll be clinging with our deluded mind and conditioned mind. Okay, according to Ajahn Brahm, he says that views and intentions, okay, you can understand what right view is by its effect. The Buddha gave a wonderful teaching on what right view is. Whatever teachings which lead to a state of peace, stillness, and harmony, which leads to the disappearance of the problems of life, which leads to the ceasing, which leads to enlightenment. These are the teachings of the Buddha, which is called right view. Right? So how do you know whether we have right view in our life or not? If you find that our life is actually improving with lots of happiness, we find that we are very welcome in places that we go to, we can just fit in anywhere, people are just friendly with us, we feel so at ease anywhere we go, okay? Leading to the disappearance of problems of life, okay? Leading to the state of peace, stillness, and harmony. Then we probably are living with right view. Maybe not to the supramundane state yet, but at least that is the very basic right view. All right, so if you have wrong view, as the Ajahn Brahm has mentioned, intentions start to go all wrong if we have wrong views. Okay, so the 3 right intentions in Buddhism is the intention to let go, that is called renunciation, the intention to be kind, no ill will, and the intention to be gentle, no violence. Yes. And of course, this is the second Noble Eightfold Path, right? Sankappa, Sama Sankappa, I think. So when you have created all these beautiful intentions of letting go, okay, to being kind and gentle, that is what is meant by right view. Okay, so that is Ajahn Brahm's definition of having right view. Okay, so because of the time factor, I think I will just more or less conclude here that there are so many things in our life. We have so many characteristics in us, the kind of inclinations that each of our minds have and have been conditioned with because of our various backgrounds and all that. We have to be so honest and courageous to be able to look into it and really try to see what we can abandon. That's called letting go. And only when we do it almost every day, looking at ourselves, our behavior, our speech, our interaction with people, our even thoughts, okay? We have to do it daily before we can learn how to let go during a meditation sit. Otherwise, if we have so full of all this wrong, what you call behavior, wrong speech and all that, right? Having a lot of problems everywhere we go, how are we able to sit down there and just let go? No, a lot of things will just be surfacing in our mind, disturbing us, and also creating a lot of inner chatters, a lot of past and future speculations, all those things. So it's not going to be easy for us to just sit down, let go into a good meditation. Personally, I find that it's not easy if I just do it during my meditation sits. So every day while we are interacting with people, we're doing work, whatever we do, whenever there are people or no people, we are always aware of what's going on in our mind. Then we can slowly learn how to let go with the Dhamma, okay? With the Dhamma of not falling into greed, hatred, or delusion, not falling into those habitual habits of fault-finding mind, and also being able to forgive, to be able to embrace one and all despite our differences. All these things will really open our hearts up and also to lead to a more happy and calm and peaceful mind so that we can have a better chance of having a peaceful and still meditation, letting go of it. Yeah. So of course, in meditation, what is the best aid for us to let go of the inner thoughts that's coming up? So of course, many of us are doing the breath meditation and Anapanasati. So always focusing on the breath. So that is one of the best things. Whenever we find that our minds are wandering, just pull it back to our breath, right? Of course, where's the breath? Ajahn Brahm doesn't like anyone to focus on any special places. But we do have students who say that I need some place to focus on. I cannot just think of nothing, do nothing. I need something to cling on because it is so common, so normal for us to want something to cling on to. And this is where the skillful means of teaching us to focus on our rising and falling of the abdomen. Yeah, it is very helpful for those of us who need something to focus on, the rising and falling of our abdomen. All right. So every time we find that our thoughts are running wild, or we are having a lot of inner chats, or a lot of fantasizing and other things, with samasati and sampajana, the what I call clear awareness. So of course, some teachers explain sati as the remembering or the awareness right now, right? And some teachers explain as the bare awareness, the moment that you are aware of something happening without any thoughts or any other kind of additional kind of sankharas going in, right? So if we are very, very quick in catching where our mind strays, right? And if we are able to know the nature of what it is, just to be aware, drop it, bring it back to our breath. Okay, so again, the best aid for us to learn how to let go is being aware, drop it. For me, that's letting go. I come back to my breath again. I may have to do a lot of letting go for one sitting meditation, right? Because our minds are so used to wandering, right? Even a 10-minute sit just now, okay? During the 10-minute sit, I was just wondering, I didn't have much time to prepare. How am I going to speak to all of you today? So that worry came out. There was something, no. Yeah, just let it be. Something will happen. Yeah. So all these things are worries and all that. So it is so natural for us to fall into those traps. But the thing is, as I said again, in meditation, we do have that breath meditation as our focal point. The moment we realize that our minds are straying, bring it back again. And it can happen. It will be a tug of war all the time. But once we are able to just be with the breath, okay? Be with the breath and not control the breath, right? Important thing is not control the breathing, be with the breath. And then we can slowly bring our mind to be peaceful and calm and finally go into the stillness. So the process will happen after we put in some level of effort, okay, with clear awareness and mindfulness together. All right, so I think with that, I'd like to conclude about today's topic about letting go. I'm not sure whether it's helpful or not, but I think all those things are things that may help, at least it helped me, okay, to look at myself, and then so that when I sit in meditation, I know that all those things I have tried to let go before in my daily livelihood, and I hope that when I'm sitting, it doesn't bother me that much. Yeah. Okay, so with all those letting go of negativity in us, we don't go into too much trouble with other people, and then there's less worries and remorse there, and there'll be more joy in us to know that we have not really go around hurting or harming others or offending others. So meditation will become a very beautiful practice that we look forward to. Okay, with that I conclude. So now question time.
Sadhu, Ayya. Definitely very helpful talk, Ayya.
Thank
We
you.
have a few questions.
Okay.
You may have answered the first one already, but I'm not sure whether you want to add anything on. Does meditation help in letting go? If so, please tell us how to do it.
Yeah. So through your breath meditation. Yeah. So it's not really the breath meditation. I would say that with the samasati and sampajana, the awareness and also the clear awareness with clarity as to what our mind has been doing. Okay, so of course, teachers like to say the recollection of what we are doing. We are supposed to be meditating, and then now we know that our mind is wandering off. So once we notice that our mind is wandering off, instead of just following the mind going around the world, we know that we are supposed to put an end to that. So of course, not too much of thoughts going in, just the bare awareness that this is happening, and quickly come back to the focus of our meditation again. So if you are able to be with your breath through your nose area here, your nostrils here, by all means do that. But it's not easy. A lot of times it's only experienced meditators who are able to feel the breath coming in and out here. All right. So for beginners or those whose mind are more, I would say, scattered, okay, restless, then focusing on the abdomen is good, because I really don't like to encourage people to focus on the chest area because our breath tends to be very short. So if you focus on the abdomen area, you can actually focus on the full body of breath coming from the nose here, right into the abdomen area, and then from there out also. So you can have a real good breathing exercise there with full awareness. Yeah. So that is one technique that I would encourage. Yeah. So I don't know whether that answers the question or not.
Thank you, Ayya. Next question. How to let go of the more subtle defilements in the mind?
Yeah. Again, you have to be able to catch it, right? So our teachers always tell us that a lot of times we are not able to catch it until a little later when it happens. But according to the right effort, right? What is right effort? To be able to stop something that's unwholesome from arising, and whatever is unwholesome that has arisen, we have to be able to catch it and abandon it. So that is where samasati and sampajana comes into our mindfulness and our clear awareness. Okay, what is the mind doing? Right? Is it leading us towards happiness and peace, or is it leading us into suffering? we all know when we are suffering, if our thoughts or our behavior are not wholesome thoughts or behavior, we will suffer. We will find ourselves being angry, frustrated, irritated, agitated, and then we start to want to make other people feel sorry that you have made me like this, you caused me to be angry. And all those things are something that we have to be very honest about, that it is not others, but we ourselves falling into our own traps of aversion and hatred. Okay, even in aversion, in what you call greed, also in greed. So it all depends on sati, our mindfulness and clear awareness. And to get rid of it, again, we have to have right view that everything is impermanent, right? And it's all due to cause and conditions. A lot of times we cannot force something to happen. It happens because of cause and conditions. All right. So when cause and conditions are there, they will arise. Cause and conditions are not there, then it will not arise. So we try to remove the causes. Okay. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Ayya. Next question. How to make peace with restlessness?
Okay. Don't scold yourself. That's the first thing. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes, like even for me, I may have been a nun for so many years, but sometimes I do feel restless, especially when I'm burdened with duties. Okay. When I'm burdened with duties, the mind becomes very restless. Even when I'm sitting in meditation, at least, I have to tell myself, I have to remind myself, your mind is not at rest. Your mind is not peaceful, but at least sit down, calm down your body first. That's why for me, I always tell our community of nuns here, no matter how busy we are, when it's meditation time, don't compromise on that. If you can let go of the job, let go of the job, unless it's very urgent. Otherwise, let go of the job, come and sit down. The mind may be working, but let the body calm down first. When the body calms down, then there is an opportunity for us to get the mind to also calm down. So the body has to calm down first. So that's why for me personally, sometimes I may be very busy and I may be very tired, but when I sit down and really try to calm down the body, then slowly, maybe sometimes you fall into a sleep or something like that. But once you are aware of it and you get up, you can actually become quite alert and very clear-minded. Yeah. So yeah, try to calm the body and let the body be the preparatory stage to calm the mind. And then how to make peace with it. Okay. Right. Just let things be. Can we let things be? That's another difficult part. How to let things be? Our mind is always working and working. So again, use the focus on your meditation technique. If you are using breath meditation, I think that's very helpful, breath meditation. Otherwise, I would suggest walking meditation. Because when we are doing walking meditation, it's a gross kind of action of our body. So the mind being focused on the action of the leg, it's not easy for you to think of other things. Because if you think of other things while doing walking meditation, it's very likely that you lose your balance. So, and also having something that is gross, like walking, focusing on our movement of the legs, is much easier to focus than on the breath, which is so subtle. So it is difficult to find stillness in just sitting down like that. I will encourage you to do walking meditation. Yeah, until the mind is more settled, then sit down. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Ayya. Last two questions. Ayya, what's the difference between letting go and giving up? For example, giving up on life after a serious illness.
Yeah. Okay, now giving up is really a very negative kind of emotion, I would say. All right, giving up. You can give up on bad habits and all that. Okay, but again, the very subtle difference between giving up a bad habit and letting go of the bad habit, sometimes it may be similar, like, okay, I want to let go of my bad habit. So what is that? Giving up that repetition of that habit, right? But if you are talking about giving up of one's life after a serious sickness or some bad experiences of that is actually a very negative state of helplessness. or of not knowing which direction to go. And that giving up is actually not something healthy, I would say. Yeah. So letting go, we knowingly, consciously know that these things has to go. All right. It is not doing any benefit to me nor to others. But giving up on life itself is actually something which I say needs to be looked, I would say, deeply into, because human life is so rare and it's so precious. We have this human life. Okay, sometimes it is a lot of suffering, and I mean, we have seen so much suffering. Even as a monastic, we have seen so much suffering. Everywhere you turn your head towards, you hear of some people suffering. Sometimes even we ourselves feel very helpless. That's why we are seeking for training from professionals to help us deal with all these kind of helpless feelings when we see other people suffering. Okay, and also to be able to encourage them not to give up, we also need some kind of skills, right? We always talk about using the Dhamma to help us, but how many of us really can see the Dhamma? How many of us can really use Dhamma in our life, right? How many of us? Not many. Not many. Many of us are what we call patting on the bark of a tree. Very few of us go penetrate into the hardwood of the tree. And that's really knowing the Dhamma and using the Dhamma to help us during our difficult moments. So of course, if the person has, I would say, a mature spirituality, Dhamma can help. But for those of us with, I would say, lesser kind of maturity, then I think having some kind of professional, what do you call that, psychiatric help or whatever, okay, or counseling, it will help. So we do have all these Buddhist monks and nuns who are into counseling and chaplaincy services and all that, to help people how to get out of their pain and grief and helplessness, difficulty, experiences that is so negative that they don't feel like life is worth living. Yeah, so that's really giving up. It's something that I really feel needs support in a very, very conscious manner, and also in a very loving manner, compassionate manner for the person who is undergoing this kind of thoughts, giving up. Yeah. So giving up of a bad habit is different from giving up with what I call experiences in life and all that. Is different, okay? Yeah. So letting go, giving up, sometimes it can be the same, but sometimes it may not be the same. Depends on the nature of what you are referring to. This is how I understand it. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Ayya. Last question. Ayya, you said we have to lower our expectations, but our family feel we have not lived or done something to our fullest potential yet. How do we manage families' expectations of success and our own so that we live in harmony? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something which is very sad. Many of us, although we are family members, even as parents too, we tend to expect others to live up to our standard of what we expect them to be like. It's very sad. It's very rare that we allow a person to live according to where their inclination is, how to say, inclined towards the direction. It's very sad. So when it comes to all this kind of family expectation and our not being able to meet up with them, the only, I mean, for me personally, because I do come from a family that has been quite supportive and harmonious, and we have been given that freedom to choose what we need to do. And of course, sometimes because of family kind of situations, we do listen out to one another to see what is best in what we need to do. Okay, so we are given that kind of support. But when it comes to family expectation where you must do what I want you to do, it can be very tough for the person where the expectation falls on, right? So, I mean, we do see these things happening a lot of times where you may be the only child at home and your parents have so much expectation of you. They hope that you can become this or that, or doing this or that. The expectation is there, and not realizing that it's causing the child a lot of suffering. Yeah. I mean, the parents may be trying to encourage the child to excel to a certain level, but sometimes excessive expectation and excessive, what I call, how to say, what is the word to use? Hoping that the child can actually be better than others and all that, and especially when there's a comparison going on, it is very harmful, I would say. How to get out of it? The only way is through communications. Whatever problems we have, communications is the best thing, but sometimes communications break down too. So what happens? Get someone to help, right? A lot of times things can deteriorate to the extent where a lot of unhappy conflicts takes place between family members and even those who are trying to please them. We do have all these kind of problems right here under our nose from our Buddhist supporters. Some children have a lot of pressure from the parents. Yeah, so sometimes we have to talk to the parents. Please, especially when the child is in the teenage years. All right, we always tell the parents to try to speak to the child, understand what they want to do with their life, and see whether they can be given the support or not. Of course, some children, they have very weird expectation that I don't want to study, I just want to go and do something else, which the parents will never accept. So that is a bit on the extreme of both either parents or children. But when it comes to a certain kind of expectation that you must get 99% in your test every time or something like that, okay, it can be very detrimental to the other family member. I always assume that it comes from parents to children, but sometimes children's expectation of parents can also be quite harmful, because there are children who say, oh, my friends' parents love them so much, give them this and that, and my parents cannot afford to give me this and that, they don't love me, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So it is both ways. And then sometimes it's siblings between siblings, and also all these things within the family. So my only, I would say, encouragement is please to have some kind of open communications. Communications is the best skillful means to get our feelings across, and communications without anger is the best. Communications without anger is the best. It's very hard for family members, even between parents and children, to really talk to one another without blowing into what they call tantrums and accusations and what they call angry abuses, calling each other names and all that. A lot of times it happens like that. It's very hard to contain. I don't know, maybe because as family members we feel that we are so near to one another, I can just do anything I want, but the respect and love, I think, has to be maintained there. Respect for the child, respect for the parents, it has to be on both sides. This is another problem that is not easy to iron out, I would say, but we can always try to get some good friends help, or keep on talking to your parents. Yeah, there's no, I really cannot give you an answer to that. I only know that communications is very important, and family members should have the respect for one another, because not everyone is like us, and we cannot fulfill the expectations of others. It's very hard for us to fulfill the expectations of others. It becomes a lot of stress for us, and sometimes a lot of such kind of unrealistic expectation, whether it's from oneself or from other members of the family, it can lead to a very severe state of depression. I don't think anyone in the family would want to see another person heading towards depression at all. So it's good for us to check ourselves to see whether we are actually giving extreme pressure on another person in the family whom we are supposed to love anyway. Yeah. I'm not good in that, sorry.
No, great advice, Ayya.
No
Thank you.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you for the practical advice and the talk. So maybe request Ayya to help share merits with all beings
Yeah.
and our departed loved ones,
Sure,
followed
sure.
by just a short blessing.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay. So as usual, after Dhamma sharing or after a good activity, even Ajahn Brahm also shares our view that there are devas around us to protect all of us who are trying to be pure. And of course, with our activity of good intentions, we also like to dedicate merits to our departed loved ones and all beings around us. Okay, so we'll do the dedication of merits and followed by blessings. Ayya, you can sit here. You can do blessings together. Come. I'll get Ayya Sanka to sit with me to do the chanting together. Yeah, she has been quietly sitting at one side just to make sure that today's recording goes successfully. So we have to thank her too. So we're going to chant this. Okay, and then after that, the Bhavatu Sabda Mangalam. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. If you know the chants, please chant together. Okay, all right. Okay. Namo Tassa 3 times first before we go into the chants of dedication of merits. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Akasatta ca bhummatta deva naga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakkantu lokasasanang. Akasatta ca bhummatta deva naga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakkantu desanang. Akasatta ca bhummatta deva naga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakkantu mang parangti. Etavata shamhehi sampatang punya sampadang sappe deva anumodantu sappa sampatti siddhya. Etavata shamhehi sampatang punya sampadang sappe bhutta anumodantu sappa sampatti siddhya. Etavata shamhehi sampatang punya sampadang sappe satta anumodantu sappa sampatti siddhya. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. So we really want to invite all beings who may not have family members and friends to do or perform merits on their behalf. We invite them to come to partake in this merit making too. And may all beings make strong aspirations to be born in a place where they can connect with the Holy Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, to walk the Noble Eightfold Path, to be guided by our young teachers, and to be supported by family members and friends and Kalana Mittas. Bhavatu sapa mangalang ratkantu sapa devata sapa buddha nubhavena sada soti bhavangtu te. Bhavatu sapa mangalang ratkantu sapa devata sapa dhamma nubhavena sada soti sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang ratkantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for the opportunity today. We hope that we can see all of you here when the retreat center is built. Hopefully by the end of this year. Ajahn Brahm says he will come here to do a retreat too. So we hope that we can see some of you over here in Melbourne, COVID permitting, of course. Okay.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I really want to thank all of you for the support you have been giving to Newberry Buddhist Monastery since day one. Yeah, and we really hope that all of you can be able to come here to do some practice with us once the central area is built. And in Ching, I just want to let you know, I'm not going back to Singapore because of the COVID situation here. It's very hard for me to even get a PCR test, right? So I've already canceled the trip back this time. All right. So thank you so very much. I think Enching, you are muted. Yeah.
Thank you, Ayya Upekkha and Ayya Santa.
We hope that you have enjoyed today's talk. Next week, we have Bhante Silananda who will be giving us another talk titled No Time to Waste, Practice More. We hope to see you next week. Do tune in to our Sunday service. Thank you and goodbye.